Welcome to TICE. I have with me Mr. Subham S. He is the founder and CEO of XR Vizion. XR Vizion is a startup, a new age startup which is creating something unique in metaverse. So let's ask Subham what he is really up to. Welcome, Subham.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
So Subham, what is XR Vizion actually?
So XR Vizion is, like you mentioned, it's a new age startup, and we combine some of these latest technologies, AI, blockchain, to create virtual experiences and digital twins for various industries like real estate, museums, historical tours, retail, and quite a lot more.
So if you can really, explain how this technology works.
So it's, let's say, for example, real estate. I'll give you an example of real estate. Now you're a developer and you want to sell like 1,000 units. So the first thing you do is put up a newspaper advertisement, and on the newspaper advertisement there's a QR code which your home buyer scans. And when the home buyer scans it, it opens up the browser, and there's a realistic house, a virtual 3 BHK house, and there's an AI avatar inside who gives you a tour of that house in your preferred language. And this avatar can give you the best sales pitch there is. Like, it'll point out all your USPs, whatever the features you have, amenities, and it'll also answer to all your queries. And at the same time, it'll also it'll also take on all your information. Let's say it'll ask you, it's a conversational bot. So it's going to ask you for your name, what are you looking for, is it for yourself, you're financing it for yourself, and any other information that the developer wants to know from the home buyer. And all of this information is later passed on to the developer. Basically, it helps to shorten the entire sales cycle.
Okay, so basically, अगर हम आपकी startup की XR Vizion की बात करें, तो the aim is to not really be physically present at the location and still get to experience.
Exactly, and that's the next generation. I mean, I think we're already in that world today where you just want virtually experience everything without even that human interaction, without even the necessity of picking up a phone, booking an appointment, traveling down to that show flat and having a tour. But instead, from the comfort of your home, without even requiring to download any app or filling a form, you just open it up in your browser, and yeah, that's all.
So Shubham, अगर मैं आपके प्रोडक्ट के एप्लीकेशंस की बात करूँ, so रियल एस्टेट और म्यूजियम्स के अलावा जो अलग इंडस्ट्रीज है उनमें XR Vizion really कैसे अप्लाई हो सकता है?
Okay, let's take retail as another example. Now you are a retail store, a fashion boutique, and you want to create a virtual boutique of yours with your fashion merchandise put on display over there. And as you walk inside, this time there's going to be an AI fashion stylist. So based on your requirement, like, you just tell them as a user that what your requirement is, and this AI stylist would actually recommend products to you. It'll even stylize your avatar, and if required, you can even try them on AR. Like, you just turn on your camera from your mobile and you try on that product virtually, again from the comfort of your house. And if you like it, you are redirected to their e-commerce page where you can just purchase that product.
So at the same time, the technology is changing every day, every now and then, and at the same time you have created something which is unique in itself. So how do you really ensure that it is actually relevant throughout the times?
Well, it's a good one, but see, today the technology changes so fast. It's like if you sleep for a day and you wake up tomorrow, you've woken up in 2050. So that's how fast technology is evolving. So for us, the best way is to be following industry trends, following the best of the news channels such as yours, and finding out what's new in the industry and trying to implement the same within our own. So when we started off, of course, we didn't have all the features. But today, as we are moving further, we are trying to add more languages, making the avatars more interactive, more human-like, trying to get more data points on the user. So these are some some features that we keep adding on to the same product.
So Shubham, if I ask you to, because the concept is really unique, so can you give me a demonstration? How can one really access your product?
Yes, for sure. This is for a client, and we've done this architectural tour for his 60,000 square feet mansion, which is coming up in Butati. It's a remote village in Rajasthan.
Okay.
And people don't have access to this village.
Right.
As you see, this is the natural landscape of that village. There is literally nothing there except for this mansion. And this owner, the developer, he actually has a vision for his village. It's his ancestral village, and he wants to create new opportunities there. So that's why he's created this building which is currently under construction, and to convey his vision, to making sure that people can actually access this, we created this virtual immersive experience. Anybody can come in, and whatever language they prefer, they can come inside and have a tour. Now, for example, this is one of our recent creations, and this
Can we really go inside this?
Yes, you can go inside this, and this is the AI avatar that will actually walk you around.
Okay.
So I'll just take you inside the residential area. So depending on your internet speed, it just loads. But otherwise, you can browse it on any device, even your mobile, you can easily access. Now, this is your avatar, which you can simply control using your arrow keys, walk around the house. And the avatar knows where you are at, where you're standing.
We have come at an age when we are not just, playing games and, just using filters, but we are actually using this technology to do something really amazing. So, Subham, if I ask about your journey as an entrepreneur, so how has it been?
Well, it's of course challenging. That's the easiest word.
Right.
But yes, so all of this kind of started off at a very early age for me. I call myself a metaverse native person. So I've been inside of virtual worlds since the age of 15, 12. Like so there were these games, Mini Planet,
Right.
Club Penguin, and these were all virtual world games where you have your own virtual identity. You walk around these virtual worlds, you make friends, you interact with people. And that's your world. And I used to live in those worlds. Like I used to come back from school and look up to this, just open my computer and go online and interact with my friends in these virtual worlds, like dress up my avatar, buy something for my avatar. I mean, my physical wardrobe, I don't really dress up. It's all full of blacks and blues. But for my virtual avatar, I actually dress up. I take some time to put on my best clothing so that my virtual self could look nice. I mean, my virtual identity to me values more than my physical. I know it's a little cliche to say that, but that's how I grew up.
But that's how today people prefer to live.
Yes. And honestly, I had more friends online virtual worlds than in my school.
So as a youngster, do you think that it's a danger also to the humankind to really live in the virtual world all the time?
Not at all. See, personally for myself, this was like my go-to place.
Okay.
Like, if I found myself here. So it really depends on who you are, and I don't see any danger. There was no danger for me. There was danger for me in the real world. There was no danger for me here. So I found myself here.
All right. Since your startup is bootstrapped, and as you mentioned earlier that your the parent company or the sister company, we can say XR Couture, is also bootstrapped. So how you really managed to start from zero and to really become like a big brand?
So from XR Couture, so we started off in 2020 during the pandemic, and the concept was digital fashion. So we created virtual clothes, and it actually came out of a problem that was in my family's business. So we're into manufacturing physical clothes.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, it was hard to manufacture physical clothing because you couldn't source the fabric, you couldn't source the trim. So, and I come from an architecture background, so I'm an architect. And in architecture, what happens is, before you construct a real building, you do it in 3D, and only once that 3D is approved, you go and construct the real building. So I applied the same logic for manufacturing clothing. We created a 3D model instead, and during the pandemic it helped because we didn't have access to physical materials. So that 3D model was good enough to get an approval from the buyer, and once it was approved, we would start the manufacturing process. So that helped us save a lot of time, effort, resources. And with that same knowledge, I applied it to the gaming world because that's where I grew. And I've myself purchased a lot of virtual clothing. And I felt like, okay, maybe now I know how to create 3D clothing.
Right.
So I can start making it for games. And that's how I started XR Couture. And since it was a very new concept, it picked up, the word picked up. We were in Vogue Business, Forbes, Wall Street Journal within just 3 months of launch. And PR was everywhere for us.
Right.
Companies knew us, retailers knew us. So they came back to us and they asked us what this is about. And since then, we did the world's first Metaverse Fashion Week. We hosted Gucci, Elisa, Nike, Adidas. They were all present in that Metaverse Fashion Week. And we were the only startup at that point. An Indian startup. I mean, India doesn't even come in the fashion landscape, first of all.
Right.
And we were the only Indian startup there to represent India, and we were there to showcase our products virtually. Avatars came in, they've tried our products, they purchased it, and of course there were NFTs at that point. Yeah, and that's So we kind of grew very organically. So we never had the problem of facing any funding challenges.
Okay.
But so one more thing I just want to add on. See, when you're funded, I mean, this is my logic. Like when you're funded, you have your funds, so you don't run.
Right.
When you're bootstrapped, you have a team that you need to, every end of the month you need to pay them, and that makes you run.
Also, Shubham, this is one of the biggest AI summit that we have come across so far. So how do you think that such summits really help, and how do you personally get the chance to be here?
Well, so it's been 2 days here, and it's absolutely been a roller coaster. Like the number of people that I'm meeting from various industries, it's been amazing. And first of all, I want to thank NASSCOM and Meet for giving this opportunity for a startup that is really young, and so many startups around here. I'm sure getting all of these startups on board is not easy, and Meety and NASSCOM have done a really good job at this one. So yes, these kind of events are, I think, the way to go forward. Like that is when people learn about your brand. Otherwise, you're just sitting in your laptop every day working. But yeah, this is when you open up to the real world.
Coming to my last question, since you are bootstrapped and you believe in really like working hard on a daily basis, so if we see there are many startups out there who are crazy about funding, crazy about valuation. So what are your tips or suggestions to really run a bootstrap startup successfully?
Well, of course, the first thing, be afraid of that next day, tomorrow, that you might not be able to pay your staff, and that's the one major thing. But of course, see, bootstrap funding is not bad. Like even tomorrow, I might require funding when I want to scale up like really good and have my best product there. But I would say we just haven't found that space yet, and we are good in what we are doing today. But tomorrow, of course, when we want to reach there, we will be funding. But for the founders that are, really looking up for a good big valuation game, and probably that's their startup. That's their startup.
All right. Thank you so much, Shubham, to introduce us to such a new technology. Thank you.